What's up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Baltimore Sports. This is the official kickoff to the 2024 Baltimore Ravens season. Um, got a special guest tonight. Been on the show plenty of times in the last couple of years. He is the former Ravens H-back tight end extraordinaire, Daniel Wilcox. Daniel, what is going on, brother?
Big Matt, man. How are you, man? Thanks for having me on, bro.
Thanks for coming on and talking some Ravens football. We are on the eve of the 2024 kickoff to the season.
Hmm.
A lot of a lot of things have gone down in the last you know 7 8 months, and with the Ravens season going on. We had that heartbreaker in the end of January. That's been kind of difficult to get over. The last couple of months, getting hyped up for this season, it's
Yeah.
been a lot to reflect on, because this had vibes of 2019 and 2011 and 2006. Um, I know that you were here for the last one that was mentioned. Um, how did you feel watching this team lose in that heartbreaking fashion? Before we get into the tomorrow's game.
I felt let down. I felt disappointed, man. I felt like last year was the Ravens' year. I felt like we was going to win it all. Felt like we had a superstar team. Everything looked good on paper. Everything made sense. It didn't seem like it would end the way that it did. Me and a bunch of my teammates, former players, we all got on the road and drove up and flew up to Baltimore to watch that game, the AFC Championship game against Kansas City. We thought we was going to the Super Bowl. I wasn't gonna pay for Super Bowl tickets. So this was my Super Bowl, watching the AFC Championship. So we was up in the suites watching the game. Me, Dallas Thomas, Ed Reeves, Ray Lewis, Corey Ivy. It's a ton of us, man. It's probably 50 former players up there to see that game. And we was all up there in those boxes, sitting down watching it. Even Torrey Smith. Torrey Smith was up there with us. Jacoby Jones. Rest in peace, Jay. I mean, it was a ton of us, man, there watching that game, and we knew we was coming home with a victory. We playing in Baltimore. We felt like everything, the road to the Super Bowl went through Baltimore last year. It had to come through us, and we just don't lose at home like that. So I was expecting to see not a blowout, but I was expecting to see a very convincing win by the Baltimore Ravens. They whooped up on everybody all year long and did it convincingly. They was definitely the superior team, the best team, and the best team didn't win the Super Bowl last year. Or the best squad didn't. The best team definitely won. I mean, it was definitely Kansas City was the better team. But because when you think about teams, people only look at it like it's players, Matt, and it's so much more than that. It's the front office, it's the coaching staff. It's a collective group of people. All together. That make a team a team. It's not just the players on the field, but it's the people that cook the food in the cafeteria. The firemen, off duty firemen that help wash the clothes and keep the place clean and do all the errands and run all the runs and stuff that we do. The equipment staff, the trainers, the HR people, the coaching staff. It's everybody. And when you saw the Ravens played like a winning team in that game. We just didn't coach like a winning team in that game, and I was kind of disappointed by the coaching. And I think I said this several times last year. Coaching was the thing that kind of hurt us early in the season too. The year before that, when we lost those 4 or 5 games that we shouldn't have lost, I felt like it was a coaching situation then too. And you can't blame everything on coaching because everything ain't coaching fault. At the end of the day, the players got to go out and play. But when you're the number one rushing offense in the entire league, and then you throw the ball 85% of the time in the game that's most important to you, it kind of falls back into the coaching hands. So it just and we had some stud running backs then. Now we got Derrick Henry this year, so it goes back to the Super Bowl when the Patriots won and they beat the Seahawks that year, and everybody was thinking they was going to give the ball to Marshawn Lynch on the goal line, run the damn ball, and then you turn around and throw a pass, and the Patriots picks it off, and they win the Super Bowl that they shouldn't have won. They got another freebie. You gave Brady another one that adds to his GOAT status. And all you had to do is just hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch. So I don't want to see one of those this year with Derrick Henry in the backfield. I want to see us use him as the workhorse that he is and put him in situations to be successful, figure out what his best runs is, and let's get that man the ball and then throw the ball the rest of the time.
I agree with you. I feel like Harbaugh kind of coached that game with a point to prove that he was better than Andy Reid, and instead of sticking to our game, he tried to beat them at their own game.
Yeah.
Um, I I think that Derrick Henry's signing was more of a, at least I'm an outsider looking in. Maybe you can divulge a little bit more. But Derrick Henry seemed like he was a signing that told John Harbaugh that, hey, you're going to run the ball. This is one of the premier guys in the entire league. You're going to do this the way we are used to doing this for the last half decade, even
Yeah.
longer, because he got cute and decided to pass the ball 85% of the plays in the AFC Championship game. And here we are. We're now going into Arrowhead tomorrow night. You got
Yeah.
Derrick Henry carrying the load for you.
Well, see, I don't feel that way at all, man. I feel like Harbaugh is the head coach, but he go out and hire a great staff. I think he let his coaches coach. I don't think he interferes with offense. I don't think he interferes with defense. He came in as a special teams coordinator as a head coach. So special teams, if he's going to interfere with anything, I think it would be more special teams. I think he may talk to those guys about what their game plan is. As a matter of fact, I know he talked to those guys because he comes in and explains their game plan before every single game. So he's very hands-on. He's definitely in every single offensive meeting. He knows exactly what the game plan is, who you're eliminating, who's not going to get the ball, who's going to get the ball, what you're going to try to take advantage of. Because he comes in a team meeting every day on a Wednesday morning when we started input that game plan, that 8 o'clock a.m. meeting, and he tells you exactly what we're going to do on offense this week. And then he tells you exactly what we're going to do on defense this week. And then he tells you exactly what we're going to do on special teams this week. So he's very involved. I don't think he's getting involved when it comes down to the play caller. I don't think the OC is say, hey, Harbaugh, you think it's okay if I throw the ball on this down and then he call a pass play? I don't think there's none of that. I think he let his coaches coach on game day and he doesn't interfere with it. And he may ask, why in the hell did we do that after we called the play? But I don't think he's interfering with the actual play calls. I think it was the OC, Monken. I think Monken got trigger happy with all the talent we had at wide receiver last year and Lamar's arm strength. I think he was trying to prove something to Andy Reid that we got firepower too. But it just didn't make sense at all to me. It's easy to get carried away as an OC when you call one play and it don't work and then you go away from it completely. I think that's what kind of happened. He just kind of got away from the run game. He got trigger happy on the pass. We was killing them all game in the pass. And Lamar was dropping dimes the entire game. I just didn't understand why we was throwing the ball so much. We was never behind more than 7 to 10 points the entire game. So it was never like we was getting blown out by 21. We had to throw the ball every down. We was in the game the entire game. Even when Zay fumbled the ball over the goal line, that would have put us up. That would have put us up. It wouldn't have put us down. So people, harp on that so much. And I just feel like the kid tried to make a play. Was it a dumb play? Maybe at that time. Maybe at that time it was, but any other time in the game it wouldn't have been. He's a guy trying to make a play, and you hire playmakers because they playmakers. He tried to make a play. He paid the cost for it, and hopefully he learned from that mistake, and he'll do it in a better way next time. He's still going to do it. He's just not going to stick it all the way out like that. You probably put it underneath your body and dive your body and shoulder in there, stick it out the last minute or something. I don't know, but he won't stop being a playmaker because he made one fumble.
Yeah, I do agree. Staying on the topic of the offense, we brought in Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
But on the contrary, we let 3 out of our 5 starting offensive linemen from that AFC Championship game go, either through free agency or trade. Do you feel like we took one step forward and 2 steps back with that logic, going with the younger offensive lineman while bringing in Derrick Henry?
I don't even know, Matt. I won't know until we kick off this season to see how those guys react. I really did like Morgan Moses a lot as a right tackle for us. I like that guy. I like him as a person, as an individual, as a player on the field, part of this team, part of this organization. He seemed like the type of guy that just fit in really good with our organization and who we are as a team. As a scout or as a coach or as a former player, I felt like we needed a better offensive line. We needed to upgrade. I don't know if we upgraded. I don't know if we downgraded. I won't know until the season pans out. Sometimes bringing younger, more athletic guys, more flexible guys in is all you need with a workhorse like a Derrick Henry. That may be all you need. Maybe you brought in guys that do better at run blocking or guys that do better at pass blocking. All I know is we need to protect our quarterback. And last year we had some games where we really protected him, and we had some games where you was scratching your head like, dang, what we gonna do? So if these guys come in and protect Lamar, that's all I freaking care about. Derrick Henry could get it out the mud and do it however he got to do it. He's a freaking stud, but we need to make sure that our quarterback is protected at all time. If we can figure out a way to get into this thing deep into the playoffs where everybody healthy, man, we're going to be hard to beat. That's what happened last year. We were still healthy. Everybody else was beat up and banged up. We was healthy going into the playoffs last year, and they gave us a legitimate shot to go deep into the playoffs. We just got to stay healthy and figure that thing out. It's one of those things where you got to knock on wood and pray a lot and just pray that these guys last the whole season.
Yeah, I like the moves they made at getting younger at guard. It's just that there's a lot of inexperience. Voorhees is coming off the torn ACL, but he was a first day graded draft pick before he tore his ACL. Fa'alele, he's a converted tackle going into guard, which could be if he can get that down, he's going to be a road grader on that right side. McCary is projected to possibly start over Rosengarten, even though Rosengarten looked good in the preseason. How do you feel with this Ravens team going into tomorrow night? I know we didn't see a whole lot in the preseason because they didn't play any of the starters for the most part. Is this a game that you go all out and seek revenge, or do you just try to get everybody on one accord? And I'm not saying losing's okay, Daniel. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But we know we're going to see these guys again in the postseason.
Right.
So is this one of those things like, oh, we got to get our get back? Or is this one of those situations where you want the win, but you also want to make sure that everything goes according to plan?
I don't think these two games are on the same spectrum at all. One game, the Super Bowl is on the line. This game, a game is on the line. This game ain't going to make or break you. You win this game, you just win a game. You're not getting any get back for losing the AFC Championship last year. You lost it. It is what it is. You move on from that. You have amnesia. This is the game that starts off your season, and it's on Thursday Night Football. You go out here and you put everything on the line, and you go win this game by any means necessary. Every freaking game counts. But if you win this game, it's not replacing the loss that you just lost last year in the AFC Championship. That was an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. This is an opportunity to win a game. That's it. You're not going nowhere if you win this game tomorrow, so in my mind, there's no get back in it. It's just, let's go play football. We was the better team last year, but they walked off the field a better team than we were. They had a better scheme, a better coaching staff, a better game plan than we did. Even though we beat their butts the entire game, they still won the battle, so we can't get that back. But we can go out here and start this season off with 1-0. I'm all for that. 100%. I'm all for that. I forget about last year. It's 2024. All right, you got that one. It's our turn. Now it's our turn to go get it all. I think we could be 17-0 this season if we really focus.
Wow. Do you have, now being a former player, I know that you sustained a good amount of injuries over your career. One of your injuries cut your career short, depending on how you look at it. Do you find any issue with Lamar and them guys not suiting up at all during the preseason, or do you think that this is one of those situations that's better to be safe than sorry?
No, I mean, all it does is it allows you to go into the season healthy. Preseason, you lose so many star players on fluke stuff, and you're playing against guys that are not. Sometimes you got guys that are playing with that first team that's never played a snap in the NFL. And they come out there, they're clumsy, they haven't figured it out yet. They fall on the back of people's legs, blowing out knees, hitting people the wrong way, not taking care of each other during the preseason, and you end up losing your star guys. Like, why would you lose a guy for a game where the guys don't even get paid full price checks? Why would you endanger a guy that's making $20 million a game or $10 million or $5 million or $2 million a game in the regular season for a game that he's not making even $1,000 in? Those preseason game players get paid $1,000 a piece. It don't matter who you are, So if you're going to make $1,500 this game or $1,000 this game, why am I risking getting hurt during that game as a player? Let me risk getting hurt when I'm getting $200,000 to $1 million or two $10 million checks or whatever for that game that I'm supposed to be playing. But why would, as a businessman, that doesn't make sense, So I don't blame the Ravens for pulling their starters out during the preseason and going into the regular season healthy when it really counts. None of those preseason games count. Yeah, we've been undefeated in the preseason for 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a row. None of those damn games count. They don't go towards the Super Bowl. They don't go towards the playoff. They don't go towards anything. that's an opportunity for the owners to make bank, and for the players, for the fans to kind of come in and get a sneak peek of the team and kind of see what those young guys look like that may be future Ravens and stuff like that. But the guys that's already been playing for you and starting for you, you know what those guys are capable of. You know who they are. You know what their character is and how they built. You don't need to see them play in preseason. Why risk those guys getting seriously injured and being out for the rest of the season by playing them? I think it's probably the most brilliant thing that they've started to do. And it's unfortunately it's because they added another game. They playing 17 games versus 16 games now. And now it's another opportunity for your guy to get hurt and won't be able to finish that one more game in the season. And it's always been about money, from day one. How much money can you make when these guys get on the field by having the best players out there starting? And the reason they put in all the stuff about the quarterback, protecting the quarterback, is because the quarterbacks are the stars of every team. So if you can keep the quarterbacks on the field and put in all these penalties for touching them, then that elongates the quarterback careers, and you get a chance to milk that money and make more money off of them for a long extended period of time.
Do you believe that this talk about adding an 18th game, for the league that preaches player safety the most, do you believe adding an 18th game down the road might be counterintuitive to that message?
It's beneficial for the owners. It's not beneficial for the players. Like if we get a contract for $1 million, they're going to split that contract up over 18 weeks if you add another game. If you get a contract for $1 million and you playing 17 games, they're going to split that contract up over 17 games. Uncle Sam's still going to get half of that $1 million. So you're only going to see 550,000 of that million anyway. And then they're going to take that 550,000 and then split it up over 18 weeks. We don't make any more money, but as a player, but guess who gets a chance to make that extra money when the stadium gets filled one more week? The owners. Yeah, so it doesn't benefit players to play 18 games. It benefits the owners to play 18 games. We still going to get all the same amount of money no matter what. And then when you go into the playoffs is just like preseason for the players, but it gives the owner a chance to make more money, because it's not, now you don't have every team playing. So now you get more money from the TV deals, because you're the only one still playing. So that's extra revenue generated for the owners. And then you're still filling that stadium one more time, and you're still selling merchandise, and you're still selling food and beverages, and you're still selling parking tickets, and then you're selling playoff tickets. So the owners all make major bank during the playoffs, but the players get the same amount of money every single week. All the players, now if I made $2 million a game, now I'm making the same $12,500 that everybody's making for round one. And round two, I'm making $20,000, just like everybody across the league that's playing in the playoffs in round two. In round three, I'm making $30,000. That's what everybody's getting paid around the league in round three. And then if you make it to the Super Bowl, you get the check for the $100,000, and you lose, you get the check for the $50,000. Because that's what everybody makes on the team. But the owners, all the rest of that money that's not being split up no more, that money goes to the owners too. So it's not a win-win for the players. It's a win-win for the owners. And in order for these franchises to stay successful, to be honest with you, to be quite frankly, that extra money is what boosts up the salary cap, so that these big contracts that you do see the players getting, it's able to be gotten. But that money has been accrued over years and years and years and years of them going to playoffs and making the Super Bowls and winning those things and all the endorsements that those teams get and everything else that comes along with it. It's a pretty awesome thing to see longevity wise. I'm super proud of the players that are actually getting paid real money nowadays, like to play this game. And back when I played, I thought it was real money. But looking at what they get now, it's like, shit, our money was laughing.
I mean, I guess that's hindsight being 2020. Right. You guys are all some of the most, you guys are the elite athletes in your sport, so you deserve that money. And right. If you're going to go out there and you're in a car crash almost every single play in terms of body damage,
right?
You might as well make as much money as you can until you're on the way out.
Yeah, so show me the money, like Jerry.
So I'm in favor of players getting paid. No matter, it's going to be absurd no matter how you look at it.
Right.
The $55 million quarterbacks, the $30 million wide receivers. That's just the way the game is. Right. A lot of people expected this to happen, but now they complain about it in real time. But moving on to tomorrow night, though, Daniel, we have our new defensive coordinator taking over. He's got a very tall first test against Patrick Mahomes and company. Hollywood Brown deemed out for the game, so that's one less weapon we have to worry about on the offensive side of the ball. They have Xavier Worthy. They brought Juju Smith-Schuster back into the fold. They still got Travis Kelce. They brought Samaje Perine in from the Broncos. How do you see Zach Orr's defense stacking up against the Chiefs tomorrow night?
I think he'll do well, man. He's a young guy. I think the guys will play for him really hard. I think they'll put their best effort out for him week in and week out. I think he's going to have a heck of a season as a defensive coordinator. He got a great group of guys. It's just going to come down to decision making and play calling. You know, when he called the plays and if he trusts the guys that he have out there on the field enough. You know, it was different when Rex Ryan was out there and Ray Lewis was out there and Rex was talking to Ray in the headset and you know, Ray being able to wave some stuff off, like, no, Rex called this. You know, it's third down. Or Ed Reed, those guys they was coaches on the field, you know. So I'm hoping that, you know, Zach got some of that on his squad with Roquan Smith and, you know, Marlon Humphreys and all those older heads that he got back there as well, man. I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing pans out. One thing I could tell you, Matt, is we're going to be physical. We're going to run to the ball and we're going to finish plays and we're going to create turnovers. You know, so I'm looking for us to get at least 2 turnovers this game. If we win the turnover battle, the game is ours, period. You know, I don't think nobody's going to be ready to stop Lamar this year. And I'm praying to God, finally, they give this guy the green light to go be Lamar. You know, stop trying to make him somebody that he's not and just deal with what we have, you know, because Lamar is a special kind of quarterback. I've never played with a quarterback of his caliber. I wish to God I had. The closest thing I ever had to him was Steve McNair, you know, but Lamar is just different, man. He's so different. Allow him to be who he is. And I think Zach is going to kill it on the defensive side of the ball. I love the fact that the Ravens went back and pulled a former player up to give him a legitimate shot to be a defensive coordinator on the Baltimore Ravens staff. That's freaking phenomenal. It made me feel like I could have done it if I had just stuck with it myself. And that's just like, you know, you see a guy become president and you're like, man, that could be you one day.
Right.
You know, the same thing with Zach, man. It's an awesome thing to see that he get an opportunity to go out here and be a defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. And I pray to God that this season is a phenomenal season for that young man. He deserves it.
Absolutely. Not to get sidetracked from the game conversation, did you happen to catch the untold story of Steve McNair on Netflix that they just released a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing, man. And hearing tears watching that shit. Just
yeah, I can imagine. It's been a lot for Ravens Nation the last month or so between Jacoby and Coach D, and then Steve McNair. You know, he was a Raven before, you know, that tragic event. I don't want to get all into that, but I didn't know if you'd seen it or not. I
watched the whole thing.
It was well done. It was just hard to watch.
It was extremely hard to watch, and I still don't know what happened, what really happened. I guess we never really will know. It's still all this speculation of what they think, you know. But it just makes you curious all over again because he was curious then, and hell, I'm curious now to try to figure out exactly what happened. Steve was such an awesome guy, man, just such a special guy. It's hard to think that anybody would want to do anything to harm him, man. But I've seen money do crazy things to people and for people, and make people do things that you normally think they wouldn't do, you know. So. Right. I pray to God that his sons, his kids, his daughters, everybody's okay, and they continue to grow in the right direction, and nothing bad happened to any of those kids.
Absolutely. Well, back on track. It was just a curiosity of mentioning McNair. When you mentioned that you think that we win the turnover battle, we win the game. How confident are you in Trenton Simpson replacing Patrick Queen?
I think those are big shoes to fill. I felt like we had Ray Lewis and Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. I felt like we had a Bart Scott, you know. So I felt like it was 2 guys that would go out and headhunt and knock your block off, run to the ball with no regard for their bodies at all. And it was fun to watch last year. I feel like we had the most dangerous linebacker core in the league last year. Simpson, I think he's young. He could run, he could fly, he could hit. You know, it's going to be interesting, like what his mindset will be, and his mind state will be as the season goes on. And I hope he stays healthy. But I think he's a young guy full of energy that will come in and do some great things with the tutelage and the help of the supporting cast that he has. I don't think he'll be a weak link for us. I think we're going to miss some of those plays that Patrick Queen made instinctively. But I think we'll make up for it, you know, with the supporting cast that we have on the D-line Roquan Smith, and then the DBs that we have. I still think our secondary may be the strongest part of this defense. So I think the supporting cast that he has backing him up will allow him to play a little bit freer as he learns this defense. A lot of these guys, they're learning a new defense, and I don't know how much Zach put in that's different from what they was already doing. But the Ravens defense have been notoriously known to be able to fly around and just kind of freelance from time to time, but freelance in the right way where everybody got each other back. And it's a trickle down effect, from the D line to the linebackers to the safeties, to the corners. They might just call a corner blitz and send another corner instead of the corner that was supposed to go, and whatever just felt right. And then the other guys are all backing them up and they make a big play, force the quarterback to make a bad throw and they get a pick or something. So I think Simpson will do well. I think he'll figure it out. I think it may be a slow start. I think it may be a slow start for the whole defense and as a whole. But I think by mid-season, by game 7, game 8, we'll start to gel. We'll start to come together, and we'll start to show you who the Baltimore Ravens defense really is. I feel like it's going to be a slow start for the defense as a whole.
That's a fair assessment. I was just watching Trenton Simpson fly around during the preseason, and I know he was playing against majority of 2s and 3s, and he has to be out there for the majority of that third game. He looks the part. He looks like he's in somewhat of a groove already. Being as though you were a Raven in the height of this Baltimore-Pittsburgh rivalry, how does it feel looking at Patrick Queen wearing that Pittsburgh Steelers uniform?
It's weird as hell, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. So freaking weird. I don't know why he would choose to go to Pittsburgh, but I mean, if I had a chance to play for Mike Tomlin, I guess I would too. I played with Mike down in Tampa when I was with the Bucs on that Super Bowl team, and Mike was a hell of a coach, man. The players absolutely loved him on the defensive side of the ball. And me being on the offensive side of the ball, I knew exactly who he was, and I liked him a lot too. So to see him as a head coach, I knew he was going to do well, and he's done phenomenal in Pittsburgh. But, I think it's hard to not want to go play for a guy like Mike. It's like the kids want to go play for Deion Sanders. You're like, why wouldn't you want to go play for Deion? Go ahead.
I mean, arguably, this might be the most high-profile free agent to leave Baltimore and go to Pittsburgh ever in the history of these two franchises. And
right.
he talks a little bit in the media and on social media. That's just the day and age in which everything's done. The only thing I find issue with is that he said the food in Pittsburgh's better than here in Baltimore, and I've never been to Pittsburgh, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say I highly disagree.
I've been to Pittsburgh. I've been there. I've ate there quite a bit. It's all right.
I
don't think it's better than Baltimore, but it's all right.
Keith Lee just came through Baltimore and gave us the proverbial thumbs up, last week. Yeah, he gave the proverbial thumbs up. But I'm looking forward to this Chiefs game. I think that we're going to see a lot of good things. I like the young guy Wiggins that we drafted in the first round. I was very skeptical, Daniel, because
I wasn't.
When you hear Ravens cornerbacks being drafted, they're generally not as slim as he is. A lot of our defensive guys, a lot of our secondary guys have some weight to them. Jimmy Smith was a big cornerback. Chris McAllister was a big cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear 6'2" and then you hear 175, 180 pounds, you're kind of like, oh, he's a little.
I think about Samari Rolle immediately. We picked him up from Tennessee when Steve came in. We got Steve, we got Mason, and we got Samari Rolle. Samari was probably $160 soaking wet. He was 6'2", size 13, size 14 shoe, but he was 6'2", 6'3", and he probably weighed 160, 165. The cool thing about the Wiggins kid, he's from Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So he got that dog in him. He played at Westlake, same school that Cam Newton played at. So he got that dog in him. They're notoriously known for having guys that freaking go play for real. So I've seen that kid play. I seen him before we drafted him. He was a no freaking brainer for me. I thought it was a great pick by the Ravens, especially because I felt like we struggled a little bit in that cornerback room last year a little bit. Everybody was kind of beat up, banged up a little bit. Brandon Stevens came on hard. Thought he had a heck of a season, but you can't never.
He did.
Yeah, you can't never have a guy. It's hard to find a guy as talented as a Wiggins kid is. He's super silky smooth, effortless, hips just flawless, like how he changes direction. And he has a unique eye for the ball too as well. I think he could be a big, big, big play guy for us over the years to come. I don't think the weight would be that much of an issue, only because of the fact that we have notoriously been known to have dogs inside. So by the time the ball get outside to that guy, I think he'll be able to come up and tackle some ankles and do just fine.
It's dangerous to think that you have that type of playmaking ability with your rookie cornerback, and then that gives you the flexibility and the freedom to move Marlon inside where he's more comfortable, it seems. And that nickel and that dime defense all of a sudden is just as dangerous as that starting 11. So,
absolutely,
that's perfect when you're dealing with somebody of the the nature of Patrick Mahomes, because he doesn't really. We saw it last year. He doesn't need all-star wide receivers to be great.
Yeah,
and
I like the Tampa kid too, Matt.
Yeah,
I like him too.
That's a good problem to have.
Right. We got depth at corner for a change. When that kid get healthy, is he 100% healthy yet, or he's still hurt?
He's supposed to be a go.
Yeah, I like that kid. I like him. He's a big physical guy. Then you got Brandon Stevens, a big physical guy. Then Marlon Humphrey's a big physical guy. Wiggins is he's a long, rangy kind of physical guy too. He come up and hit you too. You got 4 or 5 corners, man, that I feel like could start on any team in this league. That's kind of rare to have, man. You got some dudes.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's really dangerous.
I like our DB room. You got some of those guys could play safety. So imagine if you take Humphreys, put him back at safety, bring Brandon Stevens in, Wiggins in, then the Temple kid. Now you got 4 corners on the field that could freaking flat out run and play.
And then Kyle Hamilton, he's like a skinnier version of Adalis. You can line him up anywhere.
He's a freak. I like that kid.
He's a good football player. I ate crow so much, man, on this show the last couple of years. I was so skeptical about Kyle, and that dude's up for. He was just up for. He's up for Defensive Player of the Year. He's got early nomination vibes going on.
Yeah, he deserves it, man. He worked his ass off last year. He had a hell of a season last year. I mean, he literally kind of reminds you of Victor Wembanyama on the football field. Long, rangy, just alienish.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's always around the ball. I love it.
So, switching over to the offense, which is your forte.
Yeah. The
tight end room might be the best in football. So that is not my concern. If you want to add Project Pat in there, that's a dangerous room right there between Mark and Likely and Ricard, and Kohler's coming on as a blocker. He's going to be in that Nick Boyle kind of role, so to speak. Yeah. Wide receiver room, we brought back Nelson Aguilar. I love that move. I think Nelson's a very good wide receiver. Drafted Tez Walker. We don't really know what we have with him yet. He was banged up most of camp and in the preseason.
That's the UNC kid, right?
Yes, the Tar Heel. That's the Tar Heel kid. Mm-hmm. We kept Tylan Wallace, and I like Tylan Wallace. I think he's a fantastic football player.
I do too.
He does the special teams thing. He can return. He plays on, kickoff and punt. The dude just wants to be out there on the field and get as many snaps as possible.
He's a dog. He's one of those unsung heroes that don't get enough credit, enough shine. He's kind of like Devin Duvernay for me. Like, you couldn't play him enough for me. Like, I feel like Tylan Wallace should have been on the field last year a lot, but who do you take off to put him on the field?
You're right.
And it's the same thing. I think he's going to have that same issue this year. But he's a dog. I like Tylan Wallace a lot. I think if anybody get hurt, anybody go down, you got the perfect guy to step in and fill their shoes, and you won't miss a beat.
Do you feel like the Ravens did enough to replace, I'm not going to say the production, but the presence of Odell Beckham?
Yeah, I mean, just bringing in Derrick Henry alone, that kind of wipes off that.
Okay.
Like you got to really worry about Derrick Henry. Yeah, you got to worry about our running back room. I mean, our running back room was already tough. Now, don't get it twisted. With Justice Hill and Gus Edwards, they did a hell of a job back there. But you go bring in somebody like Travis, like Derrick Henry, please. Mack truck, shit, freight train, whatever. Like, now you got to really worry about the Ravens running the ball 20 times a game. Would that dude? Like, nobody wants that punishment. They're going to be begging you to throw the ball. They're going to be loading the box up, and then guess what? Now that frees up the outside. They're going to put 8-9 in the box every single time because you got Derrick Henry in the backfield. If they make one mistake, then Lamar gonna pull it and take off. And then they got too many in the box. They got 9 in the box. Then you just throw the ball outside. Then you got to deal with Zay Flowers and Aguilar and all those guys. And don't forget about Mark Andrews and Likely in the middle. It just makes life for everybody a little bit harder by bringing somebody like him in. He's going to bring so much more attention than OBJ did. I think it's going to be huge for the Ravens.
Does this give you Jamal Lewis vibes with a high octane offense?
Absolutely. And I felt like when me and Heat was back there, we had a really, really great tight end room. But they wasn't going to allow it to be anything more than the Todd Heap show. But now you got Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews getting hurt kind of came right on time last year because now people got a chance to get a whiff of what Isaiah Likely could really do. So now people want to see more of that. And not only do people want to see more of that, the front office probably want to see more of that. Like we got 2 legitimate tight ends. They used to call me and Heat Fire and Ice. That's what they got right now. They got Fire and Ice. They got 2 really dope-ass tight ends that they can pretty much do whatever they want to do with. And then you look outside, and then you got some receivers out there to complement them as well. And you still got the most dynamic quarterback in the entire NFL that's still a run threat and a pass threat. One of the best dual threat quarterbacks, probably the best dual threat quarterback to ever play the game. And then you turn around and you add somebody like a Derrick Henry, and you still got a Justice Hill back there in the backfield too. I like it. And let's not forget about my kid that got hurt,
Keaton Mitchell.
Keaton Mitchell. Yeah, I love that kid, man. His dad, me and his dad, Anthony Mitchell, talked the whole time that we was up in Baltimore about 2 months ago. We literally kicked it the entire week. And I love the fact that we got former Ravens, even Quadri's kid, Ishmael's kid playing tight end. He's moved to tight end now. I don't know if you knew that, Matt, but
he was a quarterback and he moved to tight end when he got here. I think that it's smart keeping him on the practice squad. That's another diamond in the rough right there.
No brainer. Absolutely no brainer. Long, rangy kid, great size, great body type. Put a little bit of weight on that kid and tell him where he's gonna be at, in a year from now or 2 years from now. Love it.
And that's a good problem to have. I do agree with you that the dynamic that this running game can have, it can throw us back 20 years to Jamal and you guys with that dominant run game for the longest time.
It's been that long, Matt. Dang.
Yeah, it's been about that. You were here in the early part of the 2000s, and it's crazy that Lamar lost the weight again to get back to his comfortable size. He bulked up because of the potential damage he was taking, but now that he's back to that playing range, he said he felt like he was getting run down. And you said last year when you were on the show that you felt like he wasn't. So the fact that he said that he thought he was, that's an insane thing to think about. Now you got Lamar Jackson the size that he was when he ran for 1,200 yards.
I love the fact that he lost the weight and got back to where his most comfortable spot is. I've went through that as a receiver, a tight end myself. I went through the same thing. They bulked me up from 225 to 255, and I was like, bro, I'm just too heavy. You still feel quick, you still feel twitchy. You just don't feel like you got the long speed like you had, or you can't run as long as you did. So to be able to take that weight back off you and to gain that wind back, and then to be able to gain your stride back for long distance is huge. The quickness was still there. But the one ball that he threw last year that got tipped and he ran and caught it, I feel like 3 years ago that would have been a touchdown, hands down. He would have caught that, struck out on the ass so fast that they wouldn't have been able to trip him up at all. So I agree with him. I still felt like he was twitchy. I still felt like he was fast, and I felt like he was quick. I just didn't feel like he was running last year at all. Period. I just feel like they had don't put in his head, don't run. And he didn't run. Even in the AFC Championship game, Matt. He should have probably ran the ball 15 times at least.
Yeah, he should have took off at least.
Yeah, he just wouldn't run.
8 or 9 times I can think of where he had an open lane for 15, 20 yards.
And he did not run. Try to throw the ball every time or end up taking a sack that he shouldn't have took. And I just don't understand that thought process when you're as dynamic as him. But that comes to coaching. That all comes back to coaching to me. Like I'm telling him, even if I told him all season long not to run, before that game, dog, this the game. This the game you run this game. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's time for you to be Lamar and do Lamar shit. Like Michael Jordan, when the game got hot, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Lamar missed 100% of the runs that he didn't take last year. So he got to take advantage of when they gonna give him the run. He got to make everybody in this league remember why he's Lamar Jackson. Don't disrespect me. Keep them honest. Every opportunity you get, keep them honest. Take off on their ass and then throw it when you can.
Yeah, I've really tuned out the national media because right now it seems like Fox Sports and ESPN are making Lamar Jackson out to be something that he's not, and it's being
Day
played
one.
over here on Baltimore news stations, Baltimore sports stations. National pundits got him pegged as the guy that can't get over the hump. I'm going to compare Lamar to one player, and you can tell me if I'm off or not. I believe that Lamar is this generation's Steve Young, and the multi-talented, dual-threat quarterback that has all the ability in the world to get there. But when he finally does, then you're going to see a completely different side of this guy. Once he's got a Super Bowl under his belt, I think he's going to be even more cerebral than he already is.
You know the difference between Lamar and Steve Young is skin color, mainly. Like Lamar is so dynamic. He's so athletic and so dynamic. Steve was an athlete, but he wasn't the caliber of athlete as Lamar. And Lamar has the ability to be everything that Steve Young was times 10. But he'll never get that because he's such an athletic black guy. He's so athletic as black guys, like they feel like he's cheating or something. So every time the media get a chance to talk about him, they're going to tear him down and make him feel like he shouldn't use his athletic ability to play the quarterback position. It's a new age of quarterback. And the prime example for me, Matt, is the playoffs last year. There was a game and Lamar had opportunities. He could have probably rushed for 200 yards, one of those playoff games. That same game, we won that game to advance. And that same weekend, the Buffalo Bills were playing, and Josh Allen ran for over, I think, almost 100 yards that game. And he broke every opportunity he got to run the ball. He took that shit and ran. And he was running over people, running around people, jumping over people. He was doing everything that you would normally see a Lamar Jackson do. And Lamar Jackson stayed in the pocket the entire game. All he did was applaud him. I applaud him for not running right there. And they just made it seem like it was okay for him not running. And then that same weekend, Josh Allen ran for 100-some yards, I think. And they was like, oh, that's a great job by Josh Allen by taking that ball and just running with it. He had a guy open backside, but he just thought he could get more. And they was applauding him for every single run he made. But if that was Lamar Jackson, oh, man, that's why they call him a running back. And that's why they do this. And they just beat this kid up every opportunity he get. And as much as it may bother him, it also bothers his coaches. So his coaches are the ones in the ear like, man, we got to get you to sit in the pocket more. Why? Kid is dynamic. Let the man take off running. Then eventually his throws will be a lot easier for him because people are going to be so afraid of him running.
And the whole narrative and that entire stance on, if you pay attention around the league right now, Daniel, between tomorrow night and Monday night, 15 out of 32 starting quarterbacks are black.
Yeah, I seen that. It's crazy.
So that narrative needs to end. And it's absurd at this point. Just to hear them perpetuating it with different words is irritating, and now it's a lot easier to tune out national media and focus on.
I get mad every time, even when Justin Fields last year had that breakout year running the ball, and it was like he's the best running quarterback in the NFL. No, he isn't. Lamar Jackson is, hands down. He can freaking run and throw. He can do it all. He's not nobody's better than Lamar Jackson at running the freaking football. When he ran that one year, you saw exactly how great and how dynamic he was when the offense was centered around him being able to do what he do best. And that offense still was still not tailored to the type of QB that he could have been. That's just what they was trying to think that he had to do in order to be great. But he hadn't been running that style of offense his entire life. He'd been in the spread his whole life in his shotgun and just taking off when opportunities present themselves and still throwing the ball the way that any other quarterback would. You get to the league and he's so dynamic of a runner. Now you put into this run and gun offense and this RPO offense for him, and like he really needs that in order to run. He don't need that. He can sit back in the pocket and take off just like any other quarterback and still kill you in the spread offense. I don't know. I get frustrated watching it all the way across the league. It's like they don't want this guy to be too dynamic. They don't want him to be great. And then his coaches and the staff kind of fall in line. And I love the fact that John Harbaugh seems to back him. There's a lot of stuff you can say about Harbaugh that you might not like, or you might be this, or you might not that. But the way he's talking about Lamar and the way he treats Lamar, from the outside looking in, I love it, man. I really do appreciate him for that. And I love how he's backing Lamar up and saying he's going to be the best quarterback in the history of this game. And he even said that the year that I was up there interning with the Ravens, the year he rushed for the 1,200 yards and got MVP the first time, he said he said we're gonna kill the league this year. Lamar is going to be so awesome. And I remember him talking about the new offense was centered all around Lamar, and Lamar is going to do everything that he was going to do. We're going to change the league, and he was so adamant about we're going to change the league. We're going to change the way this game is played this year. And they went out and took the world by storm. That was the whole big trust year. Remember?
Yep, with Mark Ingram and Willie Roberts and with Willie Snead and Seth Roberts and all those guys.
Yeah.
Last thing on the agenda before we wrap this up, man. What is your score prediction for tomorrow night?
I think it'll be an ugly game. I don't think it'll be a really well-oiled machine type game. I think it'll be a game that'll be kind of sloppy, kind of messy because nobody really played in the preseason. It's going to be knocking the cobwebs off. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game. I'll just say 21-14 or 21-17, something like that. No more. I don't think nobody's going to put a bunch of numbers up on the board. I think it's going to be a hard, tough-fought game. I think the Chiefs – I don't think the Chiefs will come out here trying to prove anything. They're the world champs,
That's
back
fair.
to back. So I don't think they got anything to prove. But I think they're going to come out and play their games. Patrick Mahomes is going to be Patrick Mahomes. He's going to come out to win no matter what. I think we still have some stuff that we got to knock some stuff off our shoulders to prove to people. The Baltimore Ravens are always the black sheep of the league. So we're going to come out and we're going to give you our best effort week in and week out. It's going to be a hard-fought game. It's going to be one of those Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Raven type games. And I think it'll be sloppy. It may be ugly, but I think we're going to pull off the win, 21-17 Ravens.
There we go. And before I let you go, Daniel,
hold up, man. What you got? Who you got?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna stick with what I said last night. I went on to an Arrowhead Chiefs podcast yesterday afternoon. 24-17. I'm gonna stick with that score for the Baltimore Ravens. I think we stifle Mahomes from having one of his 385-yard games, and I think that Derrick Henry has 2 rushing touchdowns in his Ravens debut. That was my prediction last night. I'm sticking to that 24-17.
I like it. Love it.
And yeah, I think we're going to come out. I think we're going to have a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. I think we're going to have something we got to prove. But I don't think it's, like you said, it's not going to be a well-oiled masterpiece. That's like mid-season form. You're going to see a lot of clunkiness, a lot of knocking the cobwebs off. But the first time I see number 8, number 22 in that backfield together is going to be like I'm playing Madden, but it's real life.
Right. I got you. I can't wait to see it myself.
Absolutely. So before I let you go, Daniel, how is everything going with your entrepreneurship and your businesses down in Atlanta?
Everything's good, man. We only do stuff off word of mouth, so I only take jobs with his referral and stuff like that. The guys are finding a way to make things happen, man. And it's been good, man. I haven't no complaints on my end, and the family's good, and everybody's good down here in Atlanta, and we're excited to kind of see what the Ravens are going to do in our household, and the city of Atlanta is excited to see what the Atlanta Falcons are going to do. So we're just trying to just be patient, work hard with the company, and stay low key, and then represent the Ravens every single day, and I represent the hometown every day as well.
That's fantastic, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining the show. I'll definitely hit you up during the game tomorrow night. Before we wrap this up, where can everybody find you on social media?
On IG at Daniel.Wilcox and on Twitter at Coach Wilcox. That's pretty much it. I don't think I really do anything else. I'm not that much of a TikToker.
I still don't understand it. I just watch the videos. So I scroll and I hit like.
Right. That's it.
Can't get with it, but that's it. That'll do it for this episode, folks. We will be back over the weekend with a recap of the Ravens and Chiefs game. And Daniel, thank you for joining the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Take care. Bird gang.